Benvenuti al pomeriggio di questa...
Welcome to this afternoon of this third day of Tipicità in Blue from Mola Teneliana in Ancona. This is the in-person event. Luckily, we are again in person in carrying out these events. Contents can also be accessed digitally. We are online in different platforms right now. Several experts, scholars, entrepreneurs of the entire Adriatic and Ionic economic scenario. And this afternoon, we are pleased to host this new scenario for the two projects presented by Assam and by Marche region. So I'm officially welcoming all Italian, Croatian guests and all the other guests who are following us, and immediately give the floor to the facilitator of this afternoon's work, Valentina Predelino. Thank you. We are very happy to be here at this event, Tipicità in Blue. This is quite an interesting format to capitalize on all the various enterprises in our region. The event is a leveraging of quality and sustainability of the Adriatic fisheries. We are running late, unfortunately a bit. We started a bit late. We have Uriano Mecone from Assam and the director substituting Giorgio Vasi for the Emilia-Romagna region. Pier Giorgio, I don't think there are any problems. We also have translation into English and Croatian. So I immediately give the floor to Mr. Uriano Mecone, who is going to greet us, and he's also going to give us a final farewell at the end of our event, and also is going to draw some conclusions. So a greeting, I think, is due. Thank you, Valentina. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to greet you on behalf of Assam, the agency I belong to, and the Marche region. We are about to end this very important prize fish project, a project that was able to join knowledge, expertise based on fisheries, on fishing, and in particular was able to establish good relations between Italy and Croatia, between universities, fishermen, enterprises. This project was very successful, I would say, and it's a great honor for me to present it to you. And I'm also going to take the floor later on in the afternoon. Couple of words as an introduction. Prize fish was focused on the environment in particular, great attention for the environment. And on this attention for the environment was able to join together and develop many different projects to spread knowledge, to develop new production methods, etc. This is in line with more recent developments whereby, in particular, small-scale fishing is considered to be the type of fishing for the future. I don't want to take up more time because we'll have many presentations. At the end, I'll take the floor once again with a specific presentation, and I wish you successful workshop. I now give the floor to Mr. Pier Giorgio Vasi from Emilia-Romagna region. Actually, this is a sort of final, one of the final events for these projects. I would like to thank all those who are watching us from their homes and offices. It's a great important time for both projects. They both tried to capitalize on fishing products in the Adriatic Sea. The great advantage of these projects is to join together the cultures on both sides of the Adriatic Sea. We are trying to relaunch this joint culture by giving it a new meaning. That is to say, our products should reach consumer tables. without being confused with other products that come from other parts of the world. I'm not saying this because our the products from other places are better or worse than ours, but because we are sure, as several international buyers can also claim, that products from the Adriatic Sea have very high, even higher organoleptic qualities than products coming from other areas, fisheries. This is due to the fact that the Adriatic Sea is a unique sea. It provides unique, outstanding conditions in the Mediterranean and in the Adriatic in particular. We have over 80% of edible, eatable fish species known in the world. So biodiversity is extremely high in the Adriatic Sea. And these projects work on two sides. First of all, to ensure biodiversity, and secondly, to ensure fisheries and all products coming from fishing and aquaculture. ADRISmArT in particular is concerned with small-scale fishing, and prize fish is concerned with large-scale fishing and fisheries in general. What's the important point here? The important point is that we can perform better fishing with better earnings for fishermen, and indirectly at the same time with a greater attention for the environment. Over the last years, there had been great technological developments with overfishing due to new technologies. We have finally realized that this is no longer possible. And we also have the tools to understand how much we can fish, and less fishing in particular should not be linked to lower earnings for fishermen, because we all know that these fishermen, they deserve earning the right amount, and they also have to fish the right amount to bring good and high quality products to the tables of consumers. And fish is not for everybody, and there is no fish for everybody. In other words, unlike back in the previous centuries, we cannot have very low prices for fish unless we find different ways to provide these important proteins to consumers. And on top of all this, the future topic for all these projects, and would say the heritage that we leave behind with these projects, is for sure a different approach to fishing and to fisheries. And we would like also policymakers to adopt it. Unlike in the past, Italy and Croatia cannot just be predators of the Adriatic Sea, and fishermen should not be the main players responsible for failure of growth of Adriatic stocks, because we know that this is not true. There are many topics, many issues we have to deal with, and as I've mentioned many times, there are also alien species that have entered the Adriatic and have caused very severe problems. There is one in particular species which eats all new crustacean, all the young crustaceans, and actually this happened also in the Black Sea, where, for example, anchovies were no longer existing because of this alien species. So we also risk getting to those levels, but we should not forget that there is also a silver lining. We have made huge efforts as far as Italy is concerned. We have reduced catches significantly, I was discussing earlier that we have reduced by 3/4 overall catches in Italy, by 3/4, decreased by 3/4 of catches. And so this leads us to different types of assessments concerning fish stocks. And both Italians and Croatians as well, Croatians who have more recently joined the European Union, we don't want our fish to be caught by fleets of other nationalities. So we must prevent all this, because by preventing other fleets from other nationalities to come and catch the fish here in our fisheries, we have to support the ancient culture, because all the countries facing the Adriatic Sea, they also they are living off the so-called names of the Adriatic Sea. There are new enterprises being established called Riccione Seafood, etc. So this is the good sounding, the positive image provided by the Adriatic Sea. And this is very important. We have to believe in our sea. All of us have to believe in our Adriatic Sea. And all together, we have to join forces to preserve the sea, to preserve our products and the culture and the fishing culture, the fishing and fishery culture. Thank you, Dr. Vasi. We are going to discuss it later on, how to fish less and also to get the best out of our catches. So for other greetings, we have Alessia Cariani from the University of Bologna, and Paolo Rottoni, another project manager for the projects. I give you the floor for your own greetings. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to follow up with what was said by our colleagues. Within this event, we have already discussed the values of the Adriatic Sea, environmental, economic values, resources, scientific values in terms of innovation, because many scientific players and technology innovation players are present here. But also there are also the social cultural aspects, and these are all the values promoted by the PrizeFish project. The main results are going to be presented here today to you. I think that the project should speak by itself through a very short video.
Possiamo far parlare il dottor Rottoni e poi
so the video, we can't show the video now, so we give the floor to Mr. Rottoni first. He is a project manager of the project that has funded all these other activities, project activities. So first of all, we are going to see the video. Oh no, first we give the floor to Professor Rottoni. As already mentioned by the facilitator, I already know many of you. I am a project managed Italy-Croatia joint project manager that has funded the PrizeFish project with about 5 million euros. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on this event, because this idea of having the projects work together was an idea that we have strongly promoted, and we have also strongly promoted all joint initiatives and events and actions, because this is a way to improve the efficacy and effectiveness of the project results, and also for all the others to take part in the next calls that will be part of this program. Like previous programs, like previous Interact programs, so I'm not going into details, but in a general way, I'm going to say that Italy-Croatia program is going to continue. There will be other financial lines to be implemented, several of them, in this area. So this is both an opportunity, but also a challenge for all of you, because it means that the projects you have to develop should should sort of become sort of hybrid projects by tackling slightly different themes. You have some dedicated targeted programs on fishing and fisheries, but under the Italy-Croatia Interact program, in the new program, there will be scope not only for fisheries and fishing in general, but also on other topics, on other themes linked to the new objectives of 2027 European programs. So join forces together, participate in the next call on capitalization. All these things are very important for our regions. You have to look at the various financial lines and look at the sectors that are more in line with the new 2020-2027 program lines, such as sustainability, circular economy, digitalization. These are the main topics. There is also something linked, a very strong link to social issues. So the fishing industry can work on all this, but they have to work under this new framework. Let's say it in this way. That's it. Thank you. I would like to thank Paolo Rottoni. Everybody is obviously interested in taking advantage of this new program. This is not so much, the difficulty is not so much to access, but to fall in the right financial line, to be consistent with the main topics. So now let's have a look at the video.
ADRIATIC è un progetto di collaborazione internazionale tra Italia e Croazia che ha come obiettivo l'innovazione e lo sviluppo territoriale.
There are subtitles in English, so I'm not going to translate it because it's also already subtitled in English.
ADRIATIC può contare su un'ampia partnership. 14 soggetti infatti collaborano in un progetto e tra questi possiamo trovare istituti di ricerca come l'Università di Bologna, istituti del territorio come regioni, ministeri, agenzie per lo sviluppo e contee, le principali realtà produttive del comparto ittico, e per valorizzare e caratterizzare questo progetto sono stati coinvolti anche centri per la tutela dell'habitat marittimo e una scuola superiore per la formazione dei professionisti della pesca. Questa partnership è ideale per lo sviluppo di filiere e di prodotti della pesca adriatica con un focus sulla eco-innovazione, dove tecnologie e sviluppo ecosostenibile si fondono per l'evoluzione di un comparto non solo in termini di sostenibilità, ma anche di redditività e awareness nei confronti dei consumatori. Per questo il motto è pescare meglio, guadagnare di più nel rispetto del mare Adriatico.
Il motto è, dico che è proprio sintetico e riassuntivo di tutto quello di cui c'è bisogno.
I risultati che oggi verranno presentati di PriceFish vengono proprio dalla sinergia.
So the results come from the synergy of these realities. During this afternoon, we will talk about environmental sustainability and certifications to ensure this sustainability. Traceability, product traceability, a product that has more value must be well recognized, and added value of the product with an intrinsic value, and thanks to the technological innovation, it can have an added value for consumers ready to cook, for example, and everything must be integrated in the big driver, the economic sustainability. And so during this afternoon, we will see the analysis to to provide to meet the needs of a demand and how much the demand is available to spend. Okay, we will listen to all these contents. Now we have the first session of quality and certification of the fishery products. And the first presentation will be online. Oh, no. We have Mrs. Sandalli, who is with us. So I give the floor to Mrs. Sandalli. So thank you. So I give the floor to Mrs. Sandalli. I thank Mr. Scarsella, who is connected online from the CNR IRBIM Ancona. They will talk about the certification scheme ARFM, the Adriatic Responsible Fisheries Management, developed within the Prize Fish project. You have the floor. Good afternoon, everyone. As said by Mrs. Cariani, the objective of the Prize Fish project is to improve competitivity of fish products, of Adriatic fish products. CNR IRBIM Ancona is involved with a group work in order to develop a scheme for product certification, for fish certification, for products from responsible fishery. And so this certification scheme is called Adriatic Responsible Fisheries Management. The acronym is ARFM. I will present the methodology followed to elaborate this certification scheme. And then I will present the standards, that is to say the criteria and the parameters that might orient the evaluation of fisheries within the certification scheme, and I will talk about the procedures, all the steps that we have imagined that should govern the certification process. Concerning the methodology, we started from mapping of the fishery methods that could apply for this certification scheme. We considered the Adriatic fisheries, taking into account the volume of capture and the selectivity of fishery tools used. Then we compared the results of this first analysis with the operators, with the fishery operators practicing these activities in the Adriatic Sea. We met them in various places in Italy and Croatia before the pandemic. And based on the results of these meetings, we developed the first structure of the standards, taking into account other certification schemes already used at international and regional levels. For example, Alaskan Fishery Management Certification Program. Here you can see a list of the fishery activities we selected for Italy, including plants with hydraulic tools and the collection of mollusks on offshore platforms. Same work for Croatia, where we selected small pelagic species, sole, shrimps, and other mollusks. In the ARMS proposal, there are the results of the consultation with the Adriatic fishery operators and the general principles in terms of fishery management developed by the FAO and the reference framework of other certification, international and regional fishery products. So the goal was to prepare a simple certification scheme in order to value the empiric aspect focused on the concept of responsibility. The objective was to consider some fishery activities present in the Adriatic that would not have now all the prerequisites for this certification scheme, but they use responsible practices and they should be valued at regional level. Another fundamental characteristic, the essential aspect of the certification scheme is that there is the aspect economic and social. There is the economic and social aspect that is being taken into account that usually is not considered by the other certification schemes. In this slide, you can see the standards divided in three main pillars: governance, environment, and socio-economic aspects. Each of these pillars has general clauses that they are guidelines of the FAO, some regulations or common regulations of fishery. They are the legal basis of standards, and each clause is developed into a series of specific indicators. That is to say, the reference parameters for the evaluation of a fishing activity. We must stress that within ARF there is a double evaluation level. There is a first analysis step, and then we consider the conditions of all fishing boats in the reference area. Within ARF, we call this aspect evaluation component. At the second level of evaluation, we consider the conditions of the individual enterprise or organization of the producers applying for the program. We call this the component of accreditation within the program. If we deepen the contents of these specific indicators, the criteria, the parameters in order to evaluate the fishery, for each specific indicator, the evaluator has to give a score. In the governance pillar, there is a series of indicators that aim at evaluating the existence and efficiency of an appropriate legal framework in order to manage fishing activities. So we would consider, in terms of component of evaluation, the codes of conduct, the guidelines of FAO, for example, the directive on marine strategy, the planning of maritime space connected to the fishery in question. Then we will see with the other indicators the existence and the implementation of cooperation mechanisms and of multi-year fishery plans. Within the pillar, the environment and pillar, we will consider data collection, scientific research, the method of implementation of the systemic approach, and precaution approach. And we also have developed a model for the marine networks. And then the third pillar, that is the novelty. As compared to other certification programs with the ARMF, there is a pillar for economic and social conditions. So the indicators in this pillar will determine the economic conditions, the capacity to create added value on products, to attract new generations, to make a fishery an attractive sector in professional terms, in social terms. And we will also see some more technical indicators, the balance between fishery capacity and fishery opportunities, and we will look at the international standards for the social dimension of a fishery concerning health on board, the conditions of contracts, the recognition and the valuing of the role of women in the sector, all that concerns the social dimension. You have here a graphic reproduction of the ARFM procedure in 6 steps, from application to pre-evaluation to evaluation, and fishery activities, certification and monitoring system. In the second part of my intervention, I will talk about each of these phases more in details. The first phase is application. So the applicant, that can be a fishery enterprise, an association of fishermen, an organization of producers. So they apply to the ARFM program. And this phase envisages the signature of a contract between the applicant and an independent certification organism chosen by the applicant from a list of accredited organisms prepared by ARFM. In terms of documents, this phase requires an application form with a series of references in order to identify the person as an enterprise and the fishery activity, and the checklist with a series of documents and information representing a first material that must be used for evaluation, for the assessment activity. The second phase concerns the evaluation. Once the applicant has presented the application, it is possible to choose whether the fishery can undergo an initial evaluation, optional, in order to give an idea, an estimate of the compliance of the fishery with the ARFM standard. The objective is to provide a general vision concerning the performance of his or her fishery, with possible recommendations on how to improve the presentation and the development of the fishery activity in order to move to the second phase of in-depth evaluation. It is the heart of this certification process, with a series of activities made, carried out by the certifying organism, consultation with stakeholders, exchange between external opinions, and this phase ends with a report that is drawn up. In this report, a score is given to each specific indicator. Within the project PriceFish, we made a pre-evaluation of the fishery activities that we have selected at the beginning of the project. The results are not final, they are preliminary, but here I have put an example of the common cuttlefish catch with traps. You can see in the various pillars, there are several specific indicators, one on the governance. Looking at the indicator in the regulation framework, we have considered the international guidelines applicable to this fishery, the regulations of the common fishery policy, the national management plan, or other regional and local instruments. And so this legal framework has been positively considered with an excellent score, but some critical issues have been identified in terms of data collection and in terms of excessive number of fishery equipment for each fishing boat. And this was found out talking with the fishermen and with the volume, but there was an impact on the indicator of data collection because some pilot actions were implemented with a collaboration project between scientists and fishermen, with the possibility to go on board and make some measurements, and this contributed to data collection. In the socio-economic sector, there is a good legal framework, even if some international instruments, for example, the Convention 188 of International Labour Organization has still to be ratified, but in terms of component and looking at the performance of the candidate, of the applicant, the level of implementation of the standards have been considered satisfactory. I am at the last slide. So once the evaluation process has been concluded, there is a certification decision that can envisage 3 results, outcomes. Fishery can be certified by ARFM, or fail and not to be certified, or be certified RFM under certain conditions, only if a specific action plan is developed in order to cover the various critical issues. The certificate lasts 8 years, and the fishery activity enters a process of control and monitoring with audits every 2 years in order to check, first of all, whether the objectives have been reached as envisaged by the action plan, or the compliance with the standards on the basis of which the certificate has been granted. After 8 years, it is possible to apply for a renewal of the certificate. I have concluded, and thank you.
Questo è un argomento proprio attuale, tra l'altro va ad anticipare un po' quelli che saranno i temi che diceva prima il dottor Rottoni su il cuore anche della nuova programmazione per quanto riguarda un migliore controllo della sostenibilità. Io dicevo, c'era sicuramente, adesso aggiungerà ci sono alcune slide che presenterà online.
Some slides that are going to be presented by your colleague, Dr. Scarcella, also from CNR IRBIM Ancona. And since we are running late a bit, We'll keep all the questions for the end of the session. You're all attending here, so if there are any questions, they will be asked at the end. So immediately give the floor to Mr. Scarcella. I think he is connected. Thank you. Can you hear me? Very well, thank you. Actually, I was supposed to introduce Giulia, but I think that Giulia was very, very clear. And I think it worked very well in this way too. I have a very brief presentation just to introduce the standard that we have developed within the PriceFish project. As a way of introduction, I am a researcher, and what we are concerned with is the state of resources in the Adriatic Sea. So the basic idea was we are going to assess resources, okay, but how can we make this assessment useful for the fishing industry? Not just for the administrative part, but also for fishermen. We provide scientific advice to the various administrations and to the European Union. So as part of the PriceFish project, we decided to develop a standard based on the already existing expertise in the Adriatic seas, as far as resource evaluation assessment is concerned, and as far as fishing is concerned. The knowledge is significant, is rich, and we can see here that over the last few years, assessments on individual species in the Adriatic and in the Mediterranean as a whole, assessments have increased, and also the status of these resources has also improved in general. So what we wanted to do is to spread, to make available this knowledge, not only regarding individual fish species, what about anchovies or salts, etc., but based on a more holistic knowledge and approach to see how the whole Adriatic ecosystem works, what is the impact of each fishing gear, how these fishing gears, they work together. So all these ideas, they have been brought together to provide added value to fisheries and to fishing industry, because they can actually take advantage of this new knowledge. So based on this fishing management system, we can see that the fishery science, which is what we are trying to do in CNR, just to mention one of these institutes, but universities like University of Bologna and the Geological Station, UGS, ISPRA, etc. So you see that this fishery science is part of the knowledge production process of the fishing industries, and it may become an important management tool, not only for administrations but also for final product certification. And the objective of this was actually to promote awareness of consumers. What we want to do is to certify through this standard that the fish that consumers eat is fish caught and fished in a responsible way in the Adriatic Sea. So at the end, we need to develop a new, a different and innovative idea regarding exploitation. Obviously, the Adriatic Sea is by now a European sea, and fleets have to comply with the European regulations. So this is our current situation. We are part of it. And Croatia is also part of the European Union. So the idea is to tackle all these issues to move from overfishing to a more sustainable fishing. So the objective was to capitalize on self-government experiences and sectorial industries In this program, we assess fisheries and fishing activities in general, fishing or small pelagic fish. At the same time, we try and assess the fleets and all the fishing boats that belong to this fleet in a certain port, what they are doing in terms of improving their own fleet activities, whether they are actually promoting a more sustainable approach to fishing and to fishery exploitation. We thought that with this approach, we would be able to actually overcome and avoid the problems related to other standards, certification standards that do not target on promoting best practices that are actually carried out by fishermen right now. So that was the reason for our developing of a new standard, as already very clearly presented by my colleague, Giulia Sandali, but we are here for during the next few hours for any further clarifications. And I give the floor to the next speaker. Thank you. Actually, consumers sometimes have difficulties understanding all these certification issues. How can consumer understand if by paying more for certain certification, they are actually getting a better quality of their products? What are the implications, in other words? I think that very practical guidelines are highly helpful for consumers to really understand what they have to do when they are on the market and they want to buy fish for their families. It's also important to tell the local history behind every single product. And this is one of the objectives of the PriceFish product. Thank you for having detailed it and presented it in great details. And at this point, I give the floor to Mrs. Eva Merlone. She's going to speak about ARFM chain of custody standards for the entire chain sustainability. Ms. Merlone, you have the floor. She is from the University of Bologna. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. My name is Eva Merloni. We have worked on behalf of University of Bologna and supported the project in developing this ARFM standards and the chain of custody standards. The work we have carried out aimed at taking a further step from the presentation you have just heard about, because what we wanted to do is to cover the entire supply chain. That is to say, what is a chain of custody as explained by the FAO. Chain of custody in fishery is a set of measures designed to guarantee that seafood product put on the market, which may also carry an eco-label seal, is actually a product of designated origin coming from a certified fishery. So differently from what has just been mentioned by our colleagues, refers to a whole set of indicators and criteria regulating the fishery side. We tried to analyze all the other steps in the supply chain, because when I have a certified product at the end of the supply chain, I also want to be sure that all the other steps in the supply chain have complied with indicators and criteria defined in terms of sustainability, economic sustainability, when landing the fish on the quay, processing and transporting the product to the point of sale. So we have worked in an integrated way with our CNR colleagues. We worked on the custody chain, chain of custody. So on product processing for preparation, during preparation, but also for all actions targeting the lengthening of a product shelf life. In other words, all the other steps leading to the final product. For example, we have worked on packaging, transport, and waste management. We know very well that these elements are very important when we are talking about environmental sustainability, but also when we are talking about economic social sustainability. We've also focused on quality certification of final product. And in this case, we actually relied on the already existing brands existing in the regions participating in the project. That is to say, the brands in Marche, Region Emilia-Romagna, and the Zara region. So these are all the elements for which we have defined certain indicators to be sure that the end product is fully certified and traceable. So we can see here that the 4 pillars of the chain of custody standard, that is to say, it's COC management system, traceability, labeling, and all multi-site requirements. In many cases, we have different sites of production. As far as production is concerned, we have considered a centrally controlled documentation and responsible key personnel monitoring inputs, outputs of certified products, and overseeing the traceability of all operations. As already mentioned by Ms. Cariani earlier, traceability is very important. The origin of a product origin is very important. Raw material must be sourced from certified suppliers. So I need to know where the raw material comes from. Another important thing is identification. Each certified product or batch, it must be identifiable at each step in the supply chain. So I must be aware of all the steps that the product has followed. Segregation in ARFM chain of custody, segregation is very important. No mixing is allowed between certified and non-certified products, and volume assessment is also very important. All incoming and outgoing volumes must be certified. No changes in volume is allowed. Labeling is another important aspect. As you know, labeling is a way to identify and distinguish a certified product from a non-certified product within the supply chain. And labeling techniques are used to mark these products during packaging, during transport, that is to say, in containers, pallets, or other similar transport systems. Labeling, in addition, allows final consumers to know what a type of certification system the product is following. Another important issue is the one regarding sites. Many operators have more than one processing site, and in this case, all sites need to comply with the same certification requirements. All sites must be certified, otherwise the overall supply chain traceability doesn't work anymore. This is an example of the way we imagined our system to work, as already mentioned by Professor Sandali before. We worked in team, we worked on different steps, but we follow the same approach. I don't want to get into detail of all single phases. It was a very complex and time-consuming work. All steps are very different. And so indicators and various aspects are very, very different too. All the information is going to be included in the project deliverables. So these deliverables are public, so if you're interested, you can get this information, and we also welcome your feedback, of course. This is a very innovative process, so it is very important to get feedback from industry operators, from experts, etc., in order to develop a really functioning certification system. Now, as to processing standards, I would like to spend a few words. Current certification systems actually do very seldom, very rarely consider processing and transport as well. That's why we focused on these two aspects, which we believe to be key. And this is another innovative aspect in the PriceFish project, because we realized that there was this shortcoming when we were discussing the whole supply chain. We defined 3 macro criteria: food and safety and quality, environmental and waste management, and as already mentioned by Professor Sandalli earlier, also human rights and working conditions. These latter aspects are very, very rarely considered. So we tried actually to take this extra step in order to include also human rights and working conditions criteria. When talking about food safety and quality criteria, obviously certification can actually contribute to the environmental sustainability to the entire fishery supply chain, transport efficiency, right amount of fishing, waste management with more or less degradable containers and packaging, etc. So we have covered all these aspects. The certification process has to cover all the steps. Quality, final end product quality has to be considered, as well as all the other processing and transport activities until the product is brought to the market. And also social criteria should be covered, should be included, which are now normally neglected. To conclude, ARFM is an innovative certification system because it covers both the fishing phase as well all the other phases in the entire fishery supply chain. And we believe that the application of this certification offers actually a competitive advantage to operators. It includes a whole set of indicators and criteria that are not yet included in existing certification systems. For example, animal welfare, socially responsible practices in seafood processing and production, innovative options for GHG emissions reduction, packaging, waste disposal, as I mentioned before. Now, to get to have an ARFM certified product, all the standard requirements must be met. All the criteria required by the entire supply chain must be met. It's a very complex work that needs further investigations. Hence, as I said before, I look forward to your feedback. What we want to achieve is a certification status which is not too strict for operators, because all the various elements must be properly balanced off. So it should not be too complex to implement for operators. Yes, it's very good. Okay, perfectly. It's very good. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Merloni. If there are any questions, the questions will be asked at the end.
We talked about this level of certification. and there is the traceability of the product up to the sale of the product. It is interesting because the next presentation, it is a case study. Those who applied this certification scheme, a producer who is involved with processing. I worked with Bio. We should have director Mauro Via, who is connected. So on our typical fish of the Adriatic Sea, he made a series of activities concerning the certification and then processing. So, Dr. Via, you will talk about this. Yes, good morning. Good afternoon, sorry. Valentina. Can you see me? Yes. Yes. Okay, okay. So I will start with the time allowed. So we participate in this important project, Interact project, as a partner. It is the first time that we have involved as a fishery, as organization of fishermen. So this is a good opportunity in order to explain what we do every day. Our organization is a fishery organization that has far roots. We are talking about typical traditional fishery of the Adriatic Sea, coast fishery that is well known. So we all have eaten spaghetti alle vongole, spaghetti with clams. But it is interesting what there is behind that dish of clams, the first plate sold in all over the world. So we were created, we were established as a group in the 1990s when the Italian Ministry of Agricultural Policies gave some orientations and created the management consortium. So we are talking about 1995, 1996, where there was an individual behavior attitude in the sector. So there was a classical attitude of fishermen considered as an opportunist. So I fish here, I fish there. So there was a sort of hunting, but this sector had to be regulated. So this important vision of the director general said that we created the consortium. So 13 management consortiums were created, and their mission was to manage fishery of bivalve mollusks on the limited area with a number of fishing boats. So this is not well accepted because fishermen are predators and they were accustomed to doing what they wanted to do. And so there were these fights. You cannot come to me, I cannot go to you. And in my region, Veneto, in the last 30 years, the area of Chioggia is predominant over the area of Venice. And there was a contrast, a physical contrast too, in terms of predominance, because I always worked there, so I can go where I used to go. But actually people understood that the situation was changing. It was not easy. There was also dead, but we were, how can I say, we were towards this trend. And so everyone had to manage an area, specific area. Regardless of your age, of your boat, you have a part, an area of the sea that you have to manage with others. So this form of self-management was introduced as a managerial structure for the whole fishing world. So every day we made some training in order to make people and fishermen understand these rules. And then fishermen started to understand that it was better to work together. And so fishermen understood the importance to manage natural stocks, and there was the evolution of fishermen. I wanted to define our experience and fishery evolution. So we wanted to accompany the profile of the biologist on board the fishing boat. So I have to listen to the fisherman and I have to listen to the biologist too, because the biologist gives the mapping of my sea, of my fishing area. So I know how much my sea will yield. So the productivity per square meter. So based on this scientific activity, we developed the management activities. So we have a minimum reference point for that area. So tomorrow we will not go there. So it was important to ban a fishery area. And so the fleet had to be moved to an easier situation, an easier area for fishery. We learned to do this. We helped the course of nature, where there is an important density per square meter. With food competitivity, there is no natural growth. So we tried to move the species to the reproducers to those areas that were weaker. So we give a support to nature. Technically, these are called restocking activities of natural foods. Science is our companion, periodic companion, because every 2 weeks we have biologists on board. All this to manage the sea, but with responsible fishery activities. And we also had to manage the sale. So we had to be very good at the quay, and we also had to manage the sale area. So put together the collective sale. I'm referring to 100 fishing boats. I'm referring to 350 fishermen with the induced world. And so we put together collective sale, and the rule was before 5 p.m. we should understand the orders for tomorrow. So we catch on the basis of what we have sold. So tomorrow I must not provide 1 kilo more as compared to what is ordered. If possible, 1 kilo less. All this is a fair system because I have a capture percentage or share assigned to each fishing boat, regardless of your abilities of your fishing boat. So there is a sort of standardization of income, but this is done towards the top because we respect the resource and we provide an income to families. This is a self-protection, and this is the objective of an organization of producers to value this attitude, working on the demand only in order to protect the price of the product and the work of your members. But all this was done during the last 20 years, and this was explained in the press during exhibitions. So we had to prove our involvement for our children, for our grandchildren. I participated in Brussels Food Expo in 2013, and I participated in an event about sustainable fishery, about the certification of a sustainable fishery. And so the sustainable fishery standard was presented, and I entered this big room and I saw that there was no Italian present in this room. And so I said, this is a signal. This makes me understand something. So I take a picture. I still have this picture of the room. We have a group and we share many things on the social media. So I posted the photo and the sentence towards the certification of a sustainable fishery. So when I came back, I started talking about responsible fishery. So the importance to be certified became evident because a third person must say that we are involved in this sustainable fishery. So I found the financial resources to certify, because you have some costs. We had chosen VNV as a certifying body that adopts a standard, and you have to meet the needs of this standard. How? You have to prove scientifically that you have a certain engagement in terms of scientific publications. So you have to prove all the data. So we started this path that lasted almost 4 years. And it was the most difficult thing in my 22 years of work here in this sector. But we were able to be confronted with all the stakeholders of the fishery world, of the European and national associations, environmental associations. They do not always agree with the fishery. So this approach is a world approach, a global approach. So anyone could attack what you declared. So in July 2018, I don't want to be long. Yes, we have to close. I'm sorry. In July 2018, we obtained the first certification as a sustainable fishery. We were the first ones. After 3 years. We passed the 3 annual inspections, and we are still the first one to have this certificate. But what does it mean? We have satisfaction because we have opportunities in commercial terms, and so in those markets that are more sensitive, look for these products. For example, in Switzerland, we supply Negros, South Switzerland, and so this open a shop window between inverted commas of a non-conventional market. So we leave the conventional market just to say we do something different that the others that don't do. And so so we go beyond what is your product, what is your price. I'm sorry, I'm talking about this to give an added value to the product, to diversify it on the market. So thank you for your example, for your concrete example. If you stay online, we will see whether there are questions at the end of the session. I try to catch up because we are late. It's not your fault, but we started late, but it's not the speaker's fault. I don't know whether whether a video will be launched on our experience. I don't know whether this video can be shown in order to make more tangible these things. Yes, we have this video.
Bene, abbiamo visto il video, lo dico per
seen this video.
è interessante perché, ripeto, la vongola poi è appunto
Actually,
pescata, ma
clams,
di solito quando parliamo di biologico
we are talking about organic clams. Normally, when we talk about organic, we talk about farming, fish farming. So this is really a unique product. I immediately give the floor to Francesco Cavraro. He is going to talk about EU certification label for the ADRI.SmArtFish project. Professor Cavraro from Ca' Foscari University is online. I'm going to share my screen.
per le stampe alle sue spalle.
Grazie. Così funziona?
Can you see my screen?
Vedete la presentazione?
Vediamo.
Can you see the presentation? Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody.
Io oggi vi presento
Today,
alcuni
I'm going to show you some, illustrate some aspects of the ADRI.SmArtFish project. It's another Interreg project, which is focused on small-scale fishing. In GS 17, medium North Adriatic Sea. The objective of this project is to promote small-scale fishing by leveraging some built-in features of small-scale fishing. Why was this fishery sector selected for? First of all, because it's very important from a socioeconomic point of view. The most recent example of this, that's something I learned about a few days ago. Next year, for example, it will be the International Year for Small-Scale Fishing. So the several events and initiatives are going to be promoted next year to further highlight the importance of this sector, of this industry, as well as some of its features, which make it a very important player in the overall marine coastal management when we take an ecosystemic approach. One of the issues the project has worked a lot is sustainability, because it's more sustainable. This type of fishing is more sustainable than other types of fishing. So this SmArtFish project is based on co-creation, that is to say, to work together with fishermen to collect and take account of their suggestions, experience, in order to produce a small-scale fishing sustainability protocol, which is going to formalize all the various notions and features of this type of fishery that are not been set in a clear way so far. And in addition, new management strategies want to be promoted, sort of self-management of fisheries. Together with PriceFish, we intend to start testing new market options within the domestic and European legal framework. And the last bullet point here, it aims at setting up a cross-border association between Italy and Croatia, the two project members, involving all or as many as possible small fishermen, small-scale fishing fishermen. I'm talking about some work packages, in particular number 4 and 5. Work package number 3 aimed at collecting available information, analyzing available data to produce results. So we focused on the state of the art on small-scale fishing in this area. We further tried to assess sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of small-scale fishing in terms of CO2 emissions, in terms of sustainability of sm compared, just to make an example, compared to trawling fishing, for example. The CO2 emissions per kilo of catch, the emissions are from half to 1/4 those in trawling fishing. And also we wanted to assess the vulnerability of small-scale fishing, vulnerability to climate changes. So we've tried, for example, to evaluate the presence of some target species in the short and medium time, depending on climatic changes like salinity, water temperature, etc. So after this overview on small-scale fishing, the other two packages, number 4 and 5, focused on other aspects. Number 4 actually aimed at producing a shared protocol for sustainable fisheries, and shared is very important because we work together with small-scale fishing operators. We collected their objectives, their needs, requirements, etc. So this protocol served as the base to produce use regulations for a certification brand, certification mark we hope to file quite soon, on the basis of which we can obtain a registered trademark for small-scale fishing. In addition to WP4, we also worked in WP5, whose main purpose was to set up this cross-border association of small-scale fishing operators between Italy and Croatia. It will be on a voluntary basis, and it should be a non-governmental, non-profit association. Its main objective is to promote the industry, to allow it to grow and to be preserved within the area, the geographic area we mentioned earlier. Now, as to WP4, getting more into details, the main two objectives were, the title was leveraging small-scale fishing and diversifying opportunities. So the first objective was to promote this shared scientific protocol for sustainable fishing. On one hand, it should aim at protecting the coastal environment and marine environment at the same time, while increasing earnings for small-scale fishing operators. The second objective is to explore the various opportunities in terms of diversification, direct management of fisheries, direct sales to consumers of raw materials as well as processed products. And also another objective was to involve not only local operators and market, but also the large distributors. Under this work package, we have always thought that involving sector operators was important. So we involved fishermen who talked with experts they presented their requests, their needs, and also to propose solutions to any problems. Then we drew up this protocol, which was used to define the user regulations for this registered trademark. And this will be carried out also together with another activity concerning the pre-assessment of the MSC trademark. The project objective is not to help small-scale fishing operators get this trademark, but to assess what is the stand, where do we stand in achieving this trademark. Some pilot actions involved both Italian and Croatian operators, and these activities tried to entrust fishermen with the self-management of some fisheries. We started the beginning of summer. Activities have already been concluded or are about to be concluded in the next few months. We are going to analyze all the results, and we'll be trying to assess the ability of these fishermen to self-manage some fisheries. And as I mentioned before, we analyzed the issue from the point of view of market innovation. Some pilot actions were developed, creating fishermen villages where small-scale fishermen were able to sell their own fish, either directly or so raw materials, or also to sell processed products. Products that have undergone the certification protocol. Another objective was to better leverage fishing products in mass distribution outlets, as well as in restaurants, for example. As far as certification is concerned, after developing the protocol and the user regulations, together with Regione Marche, we have developed the logo of this trademark. We are about to end. All the steps have already been completed. So quite shortly, I would say, we will apply for this trademark. Sorry for not showing you any actual pictures, but we have some constraints about confidentiality regarding the trademarks and everything surrounding it. So I can't show you the trademark yet because it has not been filed yet. It has not been registered yet. I hope that next time I'll be able to show you the trademark. So there will be a good excuse for meeting again. Thank you very much, Dr. Cavaro. Thank you very much for your presentation, and hope there will be another opportunity for you to show us your logo. And we are also going to talk about this issue about trademarks for quality. We have Ms. Silvia Palladino from Assam, representative of the Ancona Fish Market. She is here in person, and she's going to talk about the mark. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Silvia Palladino from Assam, and I'm in charge of fishing certification based on QM mark. Previous colleagues from CMM, they spoke about the ADRIATIC project and the certification, as already perfectly explained by the previous speakers. It refers to an eco-label certification from the fishing to the landing of the fish on the quay. What we are going to talk about now, conversely, is the certification concerning the chain of custody, already mentioned earlier by Ms. Merloni. She referred to the chain of custody, that it was the standard developed by the PriceFish project regarding product sustainability from the raw material landing on the quay until its marketing, until it is sold. This concept has already been introduced. There are regional quality marks like the QM mark, which is promoted by the Marche region, which is the owner of this mark. There are many other trademarks. There is also Qualità Controllata, Controlled Quality trademark by Regione Emilia-Romagna, and also by the county of Dadar in Croatia. For example, I'm going to talk about the QM fishing mark. The QM mark actually covers the entire supply chain, not only fisheries, but all the operators within the supply chain, all the players in the supply chain that we are going to discuss now. So at this point, fishermen too, carrying out ARFM certified fishing could also be part of the supply chain. So what is this trademark? First of all, it is recognized by the European Union. It works as DOP, DGP, denomination of origins, etc. And it applies not only to fishing products, but to many other food products, service products. The main features refer to quality, which is ensured, guaranteed by service regulations and product regulations, and by an independent certifying body, which independently certifies that the entity involved and all the processes meet the regulations, the applicable regulations. Traceability applies to all supply chain steps and all the operators, and information. Information is another important point in the QM trademark, and we will later see what the supply chain consists of. And consumers may actually trace back the entire supply chain based on information in the label, but also information that can be found on a specific website through the regional platform CITRA. The QM trademark is issued by Regione Marche under a license, which gives the owner, the leader of the supply chain, gives the right to fix this trademark. Last year, the entire fishing supply chain TM was reviewed. This is the third review that we have done over the last 10 years, because we need to meet the industry's requirements through meetings with operators, with experts, and also with other research institutes. We define some requirements that can be certified, of course. I'm one of the certifiers, so I'm in favor. I can't criticize them, but at the same time, it needs to be simple, applicable. That's very important. So what are the requirements for the fishery supply chain? There are not too many requirements, but they're very important. First of all, the product had to be sold within 48, since the product was sold on the fish market, at the fish auction, within 48 hours. Whether the product is eaten at a restaurant or sold in the supermarket, doesn't matter, 48 hours maximum. Then the second point, fishermen and fishing companies that join the supply chain, they have to show that they work to meeting sustainable conditions. In particular, they need to show a certain amount of fishing to reduce overfishing as much as possible. And this trademark is similar to a trademark of the denomination of origin. We are asking for something extra, that is to say, the FAO area 37.2.1, which corresponds to the Adriatic Sea, and should also be identified. And then another important point, the maximum freshness class is required, extra or A. As mentioned before, this is the supply chain, the entire supply chain from fishermen to the fish market. There might be a broker, an intermediary, a wholesaler that sorts out the various batches, which still have to be traced and traceable down to consumers, a restaurant, a fishmongers, or a supermarket, whatever. And here, this is another important point, the controls, the checks, the fishery supply chain and the entire QM system is based on several checking points. All the subjects in the supply chain, they have to carry out some checks on their own products, incoming and outgoing within their process step. And here we have put all the various steps. And then there is a sort of supply chain leader who is the one who owns the trademarks. And he has to carry out a second level checks on all the members of the supply chain. So the supply chain leader has to check all the fishing boats, the fish market, or all the other players in the supply chain. Everything is checked by an independent body which checks on all the steps in the supply chain. Everything is controlled by the Regione Marche. There is an entire check throughout the supply chain.
In the fishing fine chain, we also have seen a series of tests for freshness and for the 24 hours to commercialization. So sampling is made by Regione Marche, and there is a sample that is taken for upstream subjects after the fish market with those with whom it is possible to have a commercialization. So a sample is made by the inspector, and on this sample, visual and physical cell checks are made based on some parameters defined in a table. In case of problems, if the product is not compliant, a sample of these representative lots are brought to an approved laboratory for checking two parameters for the state of conservation of cats. Now, rapidly, the regional traceability system, TIDRA, tracing all the information put in the system. Consumers have a part that is dedicated. They can enter the lot bought and trace all the information concerning the lot through the portal, and so it's possible to know the origin of what has been bought. This year, with the new laws, so a new supply chain has been certified, So the certification and the license for using the brand have been granted. So there are 44 fishing enterprises, a fish market, and a dealer. So it's a short supply chain, and we have organized meetings in order to diffuse this supply chain with fishmonger shops, restaurants, and we had good results, especially with the restaurants. So the certification, and I will conclude. The certification is important because this certification concerns fresh products. Many certifications are on processed fish, and there are not a lot of certifications on fresh fish. So this is an important challenge. I invite Mr. Nicola Pandolfi, Director of the Fish Market of Ancona, who will talk about his experience and his path. Thank you, Nicola. Thank you, Silvia. My name is Nicola Pandolfi. I am the director of the Ancona Fish Market, managed by the Association of Producers with 44 members, with 1.5 million production per year. It's a fundamental. This is a fundamental experience. We need a traceability, product traceability, and we need to recognize our product that is a good, high quality product, but unfortunately, it is mixed with the other lots, because this is possible according to the regulations. And so dealers can buy from different fish markets, from other ports and fishing boats, and then they can mix the goods. But the law wouldn't allow this. It is done, but the law wouldn't allow this. The objective is to make people understand that it's not possible to mix products. We have a great quality product with a sustainable fishery on 3 days, when the law allowed 4 or 5 days. So we were the first fishing enterprises to work with shares for pelagics. So we were concerned about sustainability. So we fish for 24 hours, and our fish is very fresh, arrives fresh at the fish market. The problem is that it's useless to do everything if we mix products, but we have to interact with ASAM and CNR. We participated in drafting of the regulations approved in 2020 by Regione. The position of the brand is within the fishing boat. The check is made at the end, but within the fishing boat, on board the fishing board, there is the first phase of choose. So a QM brand is selected, the other non-QM product will be sold, but in a different manner. So this is an important challenge. I know this is an important challenge. I congratulate you on your objectives. On the transformation, it is ready to do that. We check the fish, we put the label, but if we don't start from the base, so we cannot have a result. So we must work on this in order to have a made in Italy product. Final consumers, when they go to restaurants and to fishermongers shops, they don't know where fish is from. The origin is obligatory, but the area, if we put 87.2.1, they don't know, and the Adriatic Sea is too general. So, in case of Italian consumer, Croatian consumer, market surveys say that there are preferences. So we have to attract this preference. The target, the objective is to provide consumers with information on traceability. In Marche, we export to other regions. It is important to identify this. The identification of the brand must be up to the end of the supply chain. So we are developing a commercial policy, and this is the most difficult phase. All actors downstream the supply chain, we sell to restaurants, fishermen's shops, and greater distribution. Our goal is to go directly to distribution, but it's not easy because there is a reduced margin on our product. And unfortunately, data show this, more than 80% of the fish consumed comes from abroad, is imported. So we should fish less, but we should have a better product. So we started in the beginning of September. I have been working for 27 years at this market. We still have some species below €1. This means that the fish was caught for nothing, and we have many species. So purchases are always referred to 14, 15 species. So our policy is to inform consumers about simple fish. We call it poor fish, forgotten fish. We had a great interest from on behalf of restaurants. The objective is to create a QM plate or a QM menu. There was a great response on behalf of restaurants and fishmongers shops. So this is what we are doing in this session, to give a concrete value to the product. Because if we only do words, so we will be the same. So we have to give signals. The signal that your fish will be valued only if certain rules are complied with. Thank you very much. And now we have 10 minutes for the coffee break. We will recover the time in the second session because a cooking show is envisaged. So I see you in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Ce l'ha, ce l'ha andato.
Aspetta, poi faccio sapere prima.
Ora?
Ma perché gli altri due caduti? Ok, va bene? Perché sai.
Marketing, catena del valore, di innovazione del prodotto ittico dell'Adriatico. E proprio parleremo delle innovazioni.
We are going to talk about technology innovations that were tested by the PriceFish project. That is to say, raw material quality, the case of producer organization Omega-3, and then we have the Istra cooperative speaking about consumers analysis. The next speaker is Matjasevich from Omega-3. Dr. Matjasevich, you have the floor.
Yes. Oh. Can you hear me?
Sentite? C'è anche un servizio di traduzione che dovrebbe partire, no? Ok. Ah, ok. Ok. Ah, ok. It's normal.
Okay. Okay, I can speak. Okay. Okay, okay. So let's start again. I would like to welcome you to Croatian and from Zadar County. I would like just to say that I have completed the implementation of technologies. Bliže. Okay. The same position. Okay, okay. So two fishermen cooperatives from Croatia have piloted the innovative technologies in production cycle of their facilities. I will start with the fisherman cooperative Omega-3, which has piloted the stick pumps, which are usually used in agriculture system, but has been adapted for the fishing fleet. It's basically working as a vacuum cleaner, so the harvesting is now much more effective. Once they're surrounded the fish, which is sardine and anchovies, they start pumping them up to the ship. The pump is consisted from 3 parts. One type which make the suction of the fish, and central part as well, which has the watering unit extracting the sea from the fish out. And then the fish falls into the thermoisolation bins, which are filled with the ice and with the natural water. So this was the critical point of the fisherman cooperative Omega-3, which has been identified with the help of our partners, the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries Sector, Zadar County, and the University of Bologna. We also had the external expert, which has invented and tested equipment on the fishing vessel. And I would like just to be short, as I have spoken so much about these innovative technologies many times on the conference already. I would like to roll up a video so you can have a clear look on how does it work in the reality. And you will also meet our expert, Mario Lovrinov from the Maribu company, which I'm really, really glad he was involved in this project. Okay, so can you hear me now? Better. So I would just like now to roll the video for the omega-3. You will see the pilot testings of the innovative technology implemented on the fishing fleet.
Vediamo se parte. Ecco. Questa è la presentazione.
No, the second slide. Third. Yeah, this is the link.
This link, questo link da cliccare. Se la regia può far attivare il link di YouTube.
So while we are waiting now, I will just shortly explain the aim of this pilot was to raise the quality of the fish that we are catching or harvesting. Because in the traditional way, the nets that were surrounding the fish squeezed it really hard, and the fish was stressed already in the net, which launched the chain of bad hormones, stress hormones in the fish, which affects the fish quality in the end, and also they were damaged physically. And now when they're sucking them up from the sea with these pumps, now they're collected together with the sea, and they're less damaged and less stressed because they're frozen quickly and shot quickly to the thermoisolation bins.
In Adriatic in general and also in Mediterranean, we are not using the pumps for harvesting fish on the board. And we came to one idea to connect all of the companies who are dealing with such kind of data, like fever, like omega-3 catching, and we propose them to make a pilot project to increase the quality, to obtain the better price for the fish, and which means on the other way to decrease the pressure on the resources with the better price of the fish. With traditional system of the catch, we work with the drifting nets. We put 300 to 400 kilos of fish in one net. We squeeze that fish, especially with the rough weather, and we study possibility how to apply the aquaculture system in the boat, which was never done. We have a technology in aquaculture. Now the simple model is how to transfer this aquaculture technology to the fishing boat. So we asked the company Fever to follow us in the pilot project. They agree, and then we came in the possibility to implement existing technology as an innovative solution to the fishing boats.
We produce fish pump, grading machine, fish counters, drum filters for aquaculture industry. Fever is always looking for from the start for a new project, a new opportunity, new market. We are a small company and we need to take all opportunity for create. No, it's very simple system. We suck the fish direct from the sea to the fish pond with a propeller, plastic propeller, and the fish go out alive into the bin. So it's very important and crucial point if you compare with the whole system with the net.
Immediately as we start, we found, let's say, very good results in sense of the quality, increasing quality of the fish, in sense of the security for the workers, in sense of the velocity of the process, and in general, fish welfare.
After this big success with our fish pond, with European project PriceFish, we are thinking to go deeper on the fishing sector. This is the first time we are being part on this kind of project. But we are very happy, and I hope we will come back with a new project again.
Okay, so maybe you didn't see here, but we also didn't have enough time to do it. But this pump has another opportunity to select juvenile fishes also, which will be returned back to the sea, so they can grow up as an adults, which would also be caught later. This is something that it looks simple, the whole pilot, but it's actually a really, really complex one. But in the future, this is something that will be done, especially the selection part, which would then affect give a huge impact on the population of the sardines and anchovies that are based in the Adriatic basin. And now I will move over to the next Croatian fisherman cooperative, which is Istria. They have piloted a different part of the production. They have improved the existing machine, which has been used for the deboning of fishes, and they have updated that machine into the deep peeling machine for the deep water rose shrimps. In order to gain more raw material from squeezing them and to get the semi-product for their innovative product in the end, which is the shrimp burgers, presenting the mixture of deep rose water shrimp and white. So around 80% of the red rose deep water shrimp is now used using new technology, and in that way they're respecting the ecological part of the project in the way that they are preserving and using the raw materials to their maximum value. We have also a video now. Yes, this is the video. You can freely start the video. It is on English. It is on English, but you will understand everything from the pictures and from the video clips that are implemented. So.
No, la regia lo deve... Fate voi partire col play? Ok, sì.
Okay, and now when we are waiting, I would just like to say that we have a great project manager there, Andrea Bonata-Taric, which she has joined this project couple of 1 year ago, done amazing work, and I'm very sorry. I probably took a lot of time now, but I think it's the right time for the next topic, which is very well connected with these raw materials and the preparation of innovative products. Thank you very much. So you will, Valentina, now announce another.
Okay,
speaker.
thank you very much.
much.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
interesting interview. No, appunto, senza la tecnologia, l'innovazione, cioè, ripeto, non si possono comunque pensare anche...
Without technology, obviously, it's impossible to promote innovation. Because obviously certification is very important, but innovation is also important to raise the product value. So the new pumps, as we have just heard, and also this deboning technology are both very, very important. I've recently heard that there is also a company in Italy working on the same issue. Now we have a presentation by Dr. Pietro Roccoli from University of Bologna, Department of Agriculture and Food Sciences. Good evening. He is going to talk about prototyped innovative products, tested and results, training on use technologies. Chilled sardine fillet, mullets, and other fish types.
Grazie tanto, grazie anche per questa possibilità di presentare alcuni risultati del progetto.
Thank you for this possibility of presenting some result of the project. I worked within a group of the University of Bologna involved in processing from the development to the test of emerging projects. Within the project PriceFish, we contributed to develop innovative products in trend. Why is it necessary to innovate in terms of processes, in terms of packaging and product innovation? Because consumers are more and more demanding, because industry needs a certain added value. And I would say for the fish sector, fish product sector, through the application and the development of consolidated technologies, we can decrease all waste linked to season and to the accumulation of fresh fish during certain periods of the year. We think that the fish product sector has a great potential of developing in terms of processed products. Thinking of the new technologies, fresh fish products have critical factors in terms of conservation. They are animal products. They can have a high microbial contamination. They have a pH almost neutral, and they can be subject to the development of chemical and biological reactions, contributing to the loss of safety. You already know that the cold chain is an essential factor to preserve the quality of fish products. From 1 degree to 10 degrees, we can decrease the shelf life by 3 or 4 times of a fresh product. So beyond these basic concepts, we have introduced some new technologies, new emerging technologies. For 40 years, there is an explosion of a high hydrostatic pressure technology. And this technology is useful to stabilize a product without warming out. So it is the physical principle used is the increase in pressure and not in temperature. 4 or 5 times higher than the pressures of the bottom of the ocean. So these plants are very expensive, but we have areas that offer the service of this treatment for smaller enterprises that want to stabilize the product. I showed this slide to see how this process works. This product is sanitized like thermal pasteurization. A product that is pasteurized and must be kept in fridge, but this process can prolong the shelf life by 1 month. or even more. So you can understand what this means in terms of optimization. So we have packed the products. Here we put some sardine fillets loaded in cylinders, inserted in a chamber. This chamber is filled with water at atmospheric pressure. And at this point, there are the intensifiers. They are pumps forcing more water inside the chamber. And so this liquid is compressed in a significant manner. At this pressure, we can reduce the volume by 10–15%. So 10–15% of water, of additional water inside the chamber. And so microorganisms are inactivated and the product is stabilized. So the intensifiers apply this pressure for 5 to 10 minutes. Once the pressure has acted on this product, on the microbes, there is a decompression phase. Water is discharged from the chamber, cylinders are removed, and the product is packed. And so this product can be kept under refrigeration conditions for 4 weeks, even a month and a half. This technology is present in Italy, especially for the treatment of juices and other products. In the US, it is widely known and applied. All or prosciutti, for example, are exported to the US, have undergone this pressure procedure. How must the product be packed with a flexible material? Not in a glass, in a plastic film, so in a suitable package to transfer pressure within the product. Here you can see some examples of a manufacturer of shrimp burgers or sausage. You see that the shelf life increases by 8 days and reach 30 days. And in order to split, for example, the pulp meat of the lobster from the shell, you can see we have complete flesh separation up to 100%. Other examples, oysters and lobsters. And there is a second technology that is more consolidated, modified atmosphere packaging, with the special use of innovative gases. We can put a series of gases inside a pack: nitrogen, argon, oxygen. These are the gases allowed. Modified atmospheres have used argon and nitrogen in terms with very good results in terms of quality.
Confezione, sostituendolo con un gas inerte, per un prodotto così sensibile all'ossidazione come un pesce azzurro, come i filetti di sardina, possiamo incrementare.
With fillets and bluefish, we can increase the shell life in terms of oxidization. We can slow down the oxidization of fats. So we have here a time-zero product using innovative gases we have a visual quality and the reduction of oxidation that is clear and important. After this introduction on the
Andiamo a vedere un po' più nel dettaglio i tre prodotti che abbiamo sviluppato appunto basandoci sull'applicazione, sull'ottimizzazione.
We can see the optimization of these technologies. We have sardine fillets kept in under refrigeration conditions. That's the case of omega-3 enterprise. We also have developed, together with the colleagues of Vivalvia, a clam-based product treated with high pressures, natural, and with a specific sauce. And then the burgers, where we use the fish and shrimp and a special fish that is common in the Adriatic, the mullet. So we have measured the color, the oxidation of fats, the chemical indexes, all a series of parameters, and we have prolonged the shelf life, and we have also obtained a better quality. So there are people who prefer to have the same shelf life, but a better quality. And so innovative atmospheres, protective atmospheres have been better. The second case is the case of natural clams or clams in sauce. There were some technological products. I cannot have empty spaces because high pressures are applied, but the results were very good in terms of quality and in terms of shelf life. For hamburgers, we thought, or burgers, not hamburgers, we thought to mix mullet, white fish, pulp and shrimp. So this is a good decision, a good choice. We have mixed pulp meats of white fish. We have some manufacturers oriented towards this direction in order to have burgers with an added value due to the combination of these different types of fish. In this case, the product has been frozen and packed and treated with high hydrostatic pressures, and the results have been very good. We didn't follow the microbiological indexes only, but also the physical indexes, because we have to eat these products. They must be good and they must be tasty too. Two final things. I don't know if I am okay with the time. No? The introduction of two innovative technologies with treatments that will be applied in a few years. The cold plasma, atmospheric pressure cold plasma. It is what happens to air in case of lightning. Nitrogen is produced, but also UV rays. So everything is So everything is sanitized under cold conditions. So we also have a series of applications, experimental applications, where fish fillets are well stabilized by the cold and the pulse electric field that have been used for many years by the medical world. They have been used. They have been used for many years in America by manufacturers of French fries. Through the application of pulsed electric fields, we have no increase in temperature, but we make holes, and this operation favors the transfer of mass and heat. This means that in case of in special treatment, these processes are more effective, less salt, lower temperatures, lower time, and better sustainability and higher quality products.
Qualche impianto industriale, qualche pilota che abbiamo presso i nostri laboratori, e qui finisco di sommergervi di informazioni.
Here there is a lot of information, and I thank you for your attention, and I thank you all. Thank you. Everything is very interesting. I hope that the experimental innovation will become a reality, because it is important to give this innovative value to the product. Many products are legal, others are not legal, and they are inserted. So these technologies would be useful to avoid an overload of additives.
Soprattutto da parte dei nutrizionisti.
Yes, we are talking about over-processing a lot, but I'm a bit perplexed by this concept. Processing doesn't mean reducing sustainability or pollute the environment. If properly done, it means to prolong shelf life, to increase sustainability and reduce waste. And again, this is part of knowledge. I mean, when we talk about all fish is so and so, so it depends on the type of fish species, etc., etc. Again, more culture would be advisable in this sector too, because correct information is what we really lack. Thank you very much for your precious work. And let's now talk about consumers' analysis and competitive position of eco-innovative Adriatic products with a colleague of Dr. Pietro Rocculi, Dr. Luca Mulazzani, also from University of Bologna, Department of Agriculture and Food Sciences. Good evening, everybody. I also work for the University of Bologna. I'm a colleague of Pietro's. Many of the things that have been said over the last 15 minutes correspond to what I'm currently studying. And how can enterprises get organized to put all these novelties together? What have we highlighted so far? We have seen that we have typical local fish products, and this is what consumers want. We have fishing fleets and fishing systems that with some commitment can be certified. We have seen several types of certifications. There's also a possibility of selecting, of choosing which is the best certification. And we've seen that there are also some technologies already available to extend product shelf life, its preservation, etc. So based on all these ingredients, we have to check if these ingredients are actually what consumers want. If consumers really like these products, in our project in particular, we have talked about RFM certifications. This certification is appreciated, or is this a question? Is this certification appreciated? Does it compete with other certifications? Do people like this technology? Are consumers ready to pay more for these products, because these products would be slightly more expensive? Is this higher price going to balance off what consumers would get in terms of higher quality, certified products? So what is the best way to produce and sell this product? So we analyze consumers first. We try to see what modern consumers actually want as far as fish is concerned. We know that there are different currents, there are different types of consumers looking for different things, and our products, they target one or more of these currents. For example, there are consumers who have no time to buy fresh fish because it takes time to clean it, to prepare. So ready to eat or ready to cook products obviously facilitate these consumers. There are then consumers that prefer healthy food. And we can say that the technologies we are discussing about, they help improve the health side of these products. There are consumers that aim at getting fresh products, and we are working also on this. And then there are consumers aware of environmental products, and through certification, we are trying to capture these new needs. We carried out this analysis in 3 different regions: Croatia, Italy, and Spain. Croatia and Italy are the 2 project countries, and also Spain was included. Also because Spain has always been a huge fish market, an important importers. They appreciate different types of species, and they import from all over the world. We carried out our research through online discussion rooms. We normally do this type of research with focus groups, but it was mid-COVID pandemic, so we carried out some discussion online. And then we had some more detailed interviews. I'm not going into details about the various products. These are the 3 products we are discussing about: sardine fillets, clams, and burgers. These are the three products that have been introduced and discussed with consumers.
Quindi questo è il tipo di lavoro che è stato fatto quando abbiamo fatto queste stanze di discussione online, quindi in pratica sono come delle specie di social network dove gruppi di consumatori.
What are focus groups? Normally, focus groups are done with consumers, asking them several questions in order to understand their buying habits, their preferences. We talked with these consumers in Croatia, in Italy, and Spain. We discussed about the various topics that I mentioned earlier. We discussed about certifications. We had 6 focus groups with consumers along the coast and in the hinterland. There might be some differences between these 2 groups. And then we have used also softwares to analyze the text that was produced through these focus groups, analyzing the sentiments, the feelings arising out of the discussion of these topics, in particular about the product quality and certification. With these techniques, we can see whether by talking about these topics, emotions arise, emotion of happiness, of trust, distrust, sadness, surprise, etc. As far as certifications are concerned, based on this initial analysis with online focus groups, we were able to see that in general, all consumers in 3 countries, they trust certifications a lot. So certification is something people trust. Sometimes we may also doubt this. So you see a label and people may think that it's fake, whereas apparently people trust the certifications, and by analyzing emotions concerning certifications, trust is what characterized sustainability certification in general, but also MSC and also ARFM, which do not exist yet. But by explaining to consumers what it is about, it has created sentiments of trust. So forecast and trust. Forecast is antonym of surprise. So we have presented 3 products that create trust. They are not really surprising products. So consumers were not really surprised by them. They didn't believe they were utterly new, but they thought they were something they could trust. We can see some differences depending on products. For example, Croatia, consumers appreciate sardines more, whereas in Spain and Italy, clams are those that have created more forecast. Let's say. Croatia is traditionally a great consumer of sardines, so they kept this sort of preference. They are not great consumers of clams, which are much more appreciated in Italy, for example. Other indications from from these discussions, the idea that these products are easy to cook, ready for cooking, ready to eat. We have also discussed some alternative formulations. Those discussed also with Pietro, those that were discovered out of these conversations. For example, sardines were preferred over anchovies. Or, for example, we asked whether the mantis shrimps could be used for the burgers, but the actual shrimps were preferred. So there were possibility to discuss between clams with or without sauce. So that's that minimum creativity, personal creativity. Probably consumers prefer to keep it. So clams without any sauce. And then something that has not been mentioned yet, in the formulation we had proposed, these burgers had the possibility of being eaten raw as a tartare. So during the first 10 days, they could be eaten raw, and whereas after 10 days, they had to be cooked. So this was a possibility, and this piece of information that we thought it would have added value to a product actually was not really appreciated, or maybe was not really understood by consumers. Probably consumers want to have clearer ideas. Either it's a burger that I have to cook, or it's a tartare that I can eat raw in the first 10 days. So this double possibility has created some confusion, I would say. And then as far as European Union products, I would say that people trust them better than products coming from outside the European Union. Based on this, we carried out deeper interviews, more thorough interviews on a much higher sample of consumers, over 1,200 consumers. We analyzed the consumer habits. Maybe this is a bit small, you can't read it, but the majority of consumers, they buy fish in supermarkets, but still fresh, people still buy a lot of fresh feed in the markets, in fresh markets, in fishmongers. In Italy and Spain, it's mostly the fresh fish that prevails, whereas in Croatia, consumers begin to opt for a partially processed product. I don't have time to get into details. Now, the first part of the interview was a sort of choice experiment. So consumers are asked 3 classes of products with 4 variables each. There are different combinations. For example, a product already processed with a more traditional technology, more innovative technology, or frozen, or another variable is the origin, Italy, Spain, and Croatia. The third variable is the eco-label. So this product has an MSC or an ARFM certification or no certification at all. And the fourth detail is price. So consumers need to reply to these various choices, and by assessing the various choices in general by consumers, we can understand which are the most favored features and how much consumers are ready to pay for these qualities, for these features. Obviously, figures still need to be refined. This refers to sardine fillet. But what can I point out? The innovative product, the first red line, the one shown by Pietro earlier, has some negative figures. This is not really good news, but what is the explanation we can give? The fact that consumers do not appreciate the information we gave them. When we submitted the questionnaire to them, we actually explained to them that an innovative modified atmosphere with argon is used, or, for example, other technologies are used to lengthen the shelf life. Consumers are a bit worried that they not only did not understand, but they're even a bit concerned. Actually, also many distribution chains told us that consumers are a bit worried about too long shelf life. Consumers have this perception that fish should be eaten as soon as possible. So longer shelf life is not to be trusted. Obviously, you can process it because it increases quality, but I think that too much explanation is no good. Consumers are not really ready for that. Price has a negative effect. This is obviously straightforward. The more expensive a product, the less likely a person is ready to buy it. So then at this point, we should discuss what should be the best price. The blue figures for Croatia, Italy, and Spain, it's a sort of granted result. For example, consumers in Croatia, they prefer Croatian product, and this is the same for Italian and Spain consumers. They prefer their own local products. I mean, it was sort of granted. And then the last point refers to certification. blue for Italy for RFM and blue for MSC. What does it mean? It means that in Spain, or this is the way we interpret these figures, these numbers, where MSC has been on the market for some time already and is better known. The MSC label is well known, so people are ready to pay for it, where this is not the case in Croatia, for example. In Italy, where MSC is beginning to spread, but it's not very well known yet, MSC is no value at all, whereas RFM, which does not exist yet, has been much appreciated by our consumer groups. So some conclusions, too much technology information and too much attention on this innovation form is not really appreciated by consumers. Origin is very important. Certification, eco-label certification is appreciated. There are also other types of certifications that might get into the market. We know, for example, we have recently seen there are many ads where MSC is advertised more often, so it might become the prevailing label. Some remarks on the decisions to be made by enterprises to put all this information together. We are talking about business models. So what's the ideal combination of all these models? For example, the technology, links on the market. So this is the fashionable way to display results with this business model canvas. So taking all the examples we have seen so far, there are some best practices that need to be leveraged. Some are more difficult to leverage, some others less difficult. For example, as far as key partners of a company, in our opinion,
che le OP abbiano possibilmente un ruolo di gestione nella pesca, o quantomeno relazionarsi a delle entità che abbiano un ruolo di gestione. Abbiamo visto come per questo
you see, for example, for the management bodies, Cogevo, it was a key to work on a much bigger scale and to better manage resources, to leverage resources, to certify them, to sell them, depending on demand. So not to fish at random, but to fish only when the demand asks for it. There is a demand for this. And selling together, negotiating together, and meeting the big buyers together is an important to increase one's trading power. Low value fish like so-called bluefish and clams could leverage their value through better processing. We have seen there are many opportunities. Certification is another solution. Obviously, these solutions may not be suitable for other types of fish. But joining, setting up nets to sell to distributors, to supermarkets, a much wider range of products. This is something interesting. What's the cost of this technology? Is it something that can be that has a paid off, a return? Do we need to outsource, for example, because we are talking about big technologies with big equipment, so maybe we have to outsource some processes. Certifications also have a cost. Today we have heard there are several possibilities in terms of certification. So again, we need to or enterprises need to see what's the best certification for them. And then supermarkets. We have talked about the chain of custody and how important it is to keep a certified product throughout the supply chain. Clearly enough, if we can process it, package it, it's much easier because also the delivery market has grown a lot. And also, for example, at the fishmongers, having a partially processed the product is acquiring value. So the packaged product, and for example, those enterprises that can actually pre-packed and provide the label to the product is certainly helpful. Obviously, there are also situations where an MSC market, these are not Italian markets, this is in Northern Europe. So, for example, an MSC label is attached also to loose products. We have shrimps. For example, here we have salmon. This is packed, but MSC is applied also on products that are not packed. So you have sort of evaluated what consumers like, what they don't like, but of course, what's important is to have sort of supply chain contracts, agreements, and also training consumers is very important. Actually, consumers have sometimes unexpected behavior and reactions. For example, palm oil. Yeah, we know what happened. Overnight, nobody wants palm oil anymore. So I think that sustainability certification could help because overnight people are going to realize the importance of it. So we need to communicate all this in the right way. Sometimes consumers have difficulties getting the right information. Research is left sort of detached from the rest of the world, from the rest of community. Research stays within universities and cannot be extended. I would like to thank Luca Mulazzani also for this important presentation. And now I give the floor back to Uriano Mecconi, who is going to draw the conclusions. So we give the floor once again to Dr. Uriano Mecconi from Assam Marche, who is going to present this app of the PriceFish project for leveraging Adriatic fisheries. We met during Papa Fish, actually to serve fish in schools. And now we need to discuss about this very interesting app. Assam, together with the University of Bologna, has developed this project. We have developed this app to help consumers get closer to the world of fisheries, to leverage this, the sale of fish, in particular to facilitate contacts between consumers and producers. Actually, the world of fishing is a bit isolated. Fishermen do want to work on their own, whereas in our opinion is for fishermen to get better connections with consumers. In the past, we had fishmongers, for example, going around and selling fish door to door, and more recently all this has gone lost. So with this app we are trying to create a direct contact between fishermen and consumers. In other words, who want to get in contact with fishermen. With this app, they know where fish is sold, where are fishermen and where they sell their fish. And once they are in contact with fishermen, they buy fish directly from them. Obviously, there might be some other activities in between, for example, transport in between, and that could also be linked to this project, of course. Transport service to carry the fish from fishermen to consumers. So I'm often asked about season fish. What is the season fish that we should buy and eat? This is very important and useful information. Consumers normally lack this information and they don't know where to find it. So with this app, the consumers know who caught this fish, where is the fisherman based, and all this is very important. What are the advantages? Obviously, there are clear advantages for consumers because they know if they want to buy fish, where to buy it. But as far as fishermen are concerned, they have a better way to be known by consumers. We found a consortium, and I'm saying so. In our region, we had the first small-scale fishing consortium recognized by the Ministry of Fisheries already many years ago. So we have contacted this consortium, and together with this consortium, we have developed the app and we are offering this service. So we are grateful to them because we were able to test this service thanks to them. The app can be downloaded. I downloaded myself this morning, and I also downloaded it. It works. It's very easy. Maybe we should do something else to promote it. I would like to thank my staff. I did not thank my staff early, but I want to do it now because they really worked with passion, with great passion, in particular, Cristina Bertelloni. Raise your hand, Cristina. Francesca Perletta, Ugo Testa, and Silvia Palladino. These are the first great people working at ASAM and who worked on this project. They are really all very clever, very good and passionate people of my staff. I also would like to thank the University of Bologna. So I thank all the partners, even those who are watching us remotely. I really enjoyed their projects. I've been dealing with fisheries for several decades, and to see that Croatians have developed this project, this is something I really appreciated. I really enjoyed it. I also would like to thank the staff of Tipicità for having hosted us here. So I'm the last one to speak. Okay, I think you drew the perfect conclusions. I would like to thank all the speakers because this was the best way to close our conference. I would also like to thank for all the speakers for being so punctual, for being on time. And now there is the show cooking or cooking show. So we are finishing really on time. It's a cooking show also to present some of the products explained during our conference. They will be used for this cooking show.
È così?
Sì, li hanno portati i colleghi del Distal e magari
These are prize fish products. Basilio, can you come here? He's a fisherman who came to visit us. And so, do you know what the app is? Yes, I know. App means appetite. And so, after a hard day of work, app means appetite. So the aperitif is for the others. Appetite because we have dinner very soon, because we go to bed very soon, because then we go to work. Thank you for this. And I give the floor to Valentina. If there are questions, we are here. I think that the remote speakers are available too, so if you have a question, you can ask them. Concerning the app, this period of the pandemic, of the lockdown, induced many manufacturers to organize themselves. Many fishermen are organized to distribute even in faraway cities. So the use of this app can be really useful, I think. Yes, the app will be something important to help disseminate the sea culture, to promote the sustainable fishery and love the sea. So this is the objective of the Prize Fish project. I think that this objective has been achieved, and I hope that there will be an additional development. Thank you all. Thank you.